Welcome back. My name is Cassie. I'm a personal trainer and owner at Thrive Fitness Studios. And today's video is going to be a how-to video. I'm going to go through how to do a correct hip hinge the way that I teach my clients. And once you learn how to hip hinge correctly, you can turn those into other exercises like deadlifts or bent over rows or things like that. We're gonna work on this form and teach you how to get it correctly, really to help relieve the low back pain that's often felt by people when they are working on certain exercises like deadlifts and rows. So when learning how to hinge, I typically take someone over by a wall to start. This is kind of one of those motions that if you're not used to it or you haven't done it a lot, it's confusing kind of to see in your brain what I'm asking you to do with your body. So the great way to start is to stand with a wall behind you. You're gonna want your feet pretty close to the wall to start, and then we're gonna progressively move away from the wall. So typically what I'll have people do to start is you're gonna stand with your feet about hip width apart, not much wider, not much closer. And we're gonna put our hands right on the front of your hips right here. And what we're gonna work on doing is folding right over your hands. So our knees are soft, they're not locked out straight, they're soft, but they're not gonna bend any more than what they are right now. So I've got my hands right here at my hips, and what we're gonna start with is just reaching your butt back for the wall behind you. So for starters, you're gonna be super close. It's not gonna feel like much. I'm hinging over my hands. As soon as my butt touches the wall, I'm pressing my feet down into the floor and pulling my hips forward. You're gonna get a little squeeze in your glutes right there. So this is where we start. Small hinge. Notice my knees don't bend anymore, and pull in. I'll have someone work on this maybe for a week or so, really just working on finding that proper hinge and feeling your glutes actually engage to pull you off of the wall. So the harder you push your feet into the floor, the greater engagement you'll get through your glutes to pull you off of the wall. Once you get really comfortable with that, we start moving you away from the wall to get your hinge to be a little bit deeper. So you take another half a step forward or so, okay? Now we're far enough away from the wall where your butt might not touch, but you've got it back there so you're still comfortable knowing that if I were to lose my balance, the wall would catch me. And instead of keeping our hands at our hips, we're just gonna take our hands straight down to the floor now. So this is a little progression. So now I'm sitting my hips back, reaching for the wall. Again, I might not get there, totally fine. Then I'm pressing my feet into the floor to pull myself up. So now we're working our way into this actual kind of deadlift motion with a little security behind us with the wall. No weight, still working on bending forward if my hands were here, right over my hands, then pressing my feet into the floor, which kind of powers and drives through the back of my legs. So again, you may spend another week or so working with no weight, working on that hinge. Some mistakes people will start to make here is when you're reaching down, kind of rounding this way as if you need to get lower, right? So that's kind of like the biggest thing that I cue people on, and it's hard to know you're doing it without looking at it. But hands here, work on that hinge. We're really just reaching to get like mid-shin, just below our knees, and coming back up. Our goal is not to reach to the floor. If we're trying to reach to the floor, that's where you'll get that rounding in your back. The next step in our progression is to actually bring you away from the wall and possibly add a little bit of weight to your hinge. So you may have spent a week or two working on touching the wall and then moving further away where I'm not really touching the wall anymore, but I also have it behind me for that security. The next step is to move away from the wall. So I've got nothing behind me, still working on that hip hinge. Now here's one thing that I kind of cue people that helps them understand what this hinge should look like is if you've ever had a baby or a puppy, you might have used those like baby gates in the doorway, and then like you have to get over the baby gate to reach something where I might like have to reach over that gate. That's kind of the form that you're using here. So once you pull yourself off the wall, you're gonna do a couple kind of testers and make sure that my form is still good. If you have a mirror or, a lot of people like to use their cell phones or whatever to record themselves while they're doing exercises to check for form, you can do that here. Eventually adding that weight as your progression. So you're gonna start with one weight even if it's 5 pounds, like whatever it is, holding one end in each hand. And now you're progressing that hinge to adding a little weight here. So just hinging forward. Again, pretend your hands are still right at the front of your hips, keeping that weight nice and close like you were reaching for that mid shin, pushing your feet into the floor, pressing those hips forward to stand. I would say once you get here and you're very comfortable with this, that's when you can then progress to any other form of deadlift, whether it be with a bar or 2 weights, or maybe even that hinged row, where I'm coming into that hinge and then you're pulling into that row. So it's a lot of the same form for some lower body workouts as it is for upper body, maybe rows, or working on those reverse flies, right? All of that is going to bother your back if you're not in the proper hinge. So this video should help you start working on that proper form, working on getting over that baby gate or whatever it is that you're reaching over, and standing properly to get the right engagement through your glutes and your hamstrings. Thank you for watching. I hope that this video helped you improve your hip hinge, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on another video in the future.